Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Gladiator weather forecast. Today I'll be covering the weather for October 24th of 2023. Currently we have two main regions that we're going to be going over in today's forecast. We have a marginal threat for the southwestern United States again, as well as a marginal threat for the northwestern United States, the northern Midwest again. Pretty much in the same location as yesterday in the northern Midwest there, despite the lack of Michigan. I think we either had Michigan included in that marginal threat yesterday, or our day 2 outlook had Michigan included in that marginal threat yesterday. Anyways, this marginal threat is expected to be in pretty much the same location as yesterday. As for threats for today, we do have a 2% tornado threat for the marginal threat for the southwestern United States in two parts of western Texas and New Mexico for a small little area in that marginal threat. As for our wind threat, we do have a 5% wind threat for both marginal threat locations here. And then as for our hail threat, we have a 5% hail threat for both marginal threat locations as well. Let's take a look really quickly at the next couple of days. This is our day 2 outlook. Currently, we have a marginal threat for the Central Plains in Nebraska into Iowa and Missouri for tomorrow, as well as a marginal threat for a very large portion of Texas into southern Oklahoma, with threats that are currently issued as a 2% tornado threat for the marginal threat for the southern half of the Central Plains, as well as a 5% wind threat for both the marginal threat locations, and a 5% hail threat for both marginal threat locations as well. However, between now and tomorrow, things should change, and these outlooks should be updated. So this isn't entirely set in stone. Same with our day 3 outlook. We currently don't really have a area that we are expected to see the threat for severe weather for our day 3 outlook, which would be Thursday. So we don't really have an area that we're really expecting a threat for severe thunderstorms. However, again, as I was mentioning, that's not entirely set in stone, and we could potentially have a marginal threat issued by the time day 3 does roll around. So that's something you would be watching out for and watching for updates if you live in the affected area. Taking a look at our WPC outlooks really quickly, focusing on our excessive rainfall outlook right now. We currently have a slight risk for excessive rainfall for a very large portion of the Central Plains extending into Mexico, up into Kansas and parts of western Missouri, as well as a slight risk for the northern Midwest for that marginal threat there. So those are some of the locations where we could see the threat for some flooding. Then if we take a look at our winter weather outlook really quickly, you can see we are expected to see quite a bit of snow across the northwestern United States, primarily across Montana into Idaho and northern North Dakota, as well as parts of Wyoming, Washington, and Oregon as well. We are again expected to see quite a bit of snow in the northwestern United States there. Taking a look at our weather model, starting off with our 500 millibars like we usually do, focusing on the marginal threat for the southwestern United States first. You can see that we currently have a low pressure system, a trough that is currently situated across northern Mexico that is advecting into the Central Plains. You can see the amount of veering of the winds that we are expected to see in this trough, and then you can see how the isobars kind of spread apart there. So we are expected to see quite a bit of directional shear to support the threat of 1 or 2 brief tornadoes in that little 2% tornado threat area. And then some of the mountains in this region, it is fairly mountainous out in this region, so we are expected to see those mountains aid with some elongated photographs to support the threat for some hail, as well as our threat for damaging winds as well. Then if we take a look at the marginal threat for the northern Midwest, you can see that we currently have a stationary front that is kind of just sitting across this region. We do currently have some ongoing rain showers in this region. However, our thunderstorms are not currently ongoing, I think. There are a couple warnings in this area. However, they are kind of isolated to Wisconsin there. So our primary storms may not be ongoing, but there are some rain showers ongoing in this region as of right now. But I will be going over the timing and when and where our storms should be developing. So with aid from the jet stream up in the northern half of the United States, in this stationary front that is kind of sitting here, that should work together to help focus the area for severe thunderstorms. And then the jet stream, the fairly zonal jet stream across this area, should elongate photographs to support the threat for small to medium hail across this region. taking a look at our composite reflectivity, I'm going to be focusing on where and when you should be able to see our storms before I really get into the deep nitty-gritty of things. So taking a look at our composite reflectivity or precipitation type for now, because I'm going to be taking a look at our snow in the northwest. You can see, focusing on the southwest, our storms are expected to kind of really ramp up somewhere around 5 p.m., which is going to be around 4 p.m. Or 3 p.m. Central and Mountain Time. New Mexico is in Mountain Time, and the Texas is in Central Time. So we're kind of working off of two different time zones here. So please forgive me if I get any of the times wrong. Time zones are not really something I'm very good at. However, overall, for the majority of our storms, they are expected to stay in mostly rural areas for a good portion of this event. However, they are expected to move into eastern Texas and really begin organizing into a little bit of a line in eastern Texas here. Western Texas, somewhere around 2 a.m., which would be around 1 a.m. In western Texas. And then you can see that line of storms is expected to continue overnight across western Texas, or the very early morning of western Texas. And then later on in the morning, around 9 to 8 a.m., which would be around 7 to 8 a.m. In Central Time. Those storms kind of weaken down a little bit. However, those will continue to progress eastward over the next couple of the next couple morning hours, the early morning into the midday and afternoon. Those storms should continue progressing eastward across Texas into Oklahoma, and that is going to be the primary thing that we're going to be watching out for as far as severe weather for tomorrow across Texas and Oklahoma. But let's take a look at the marginal threat for the northern Midwest. Again, as I was mentioning, we do currently have some rain showers that are ongoing. However, our storms are expected to develop in northern Iowa into parts of Wisconsin somewhere around 6 p.m., which would be around 5 p.m. Central Central Time. And then those storms are expected to continue propagating to the north into Minnesota and central Wisconsin around 8 p.m., which would be 7 p.m. in Central Time. And then we are expected to see a cluster of rain showers develop back towards western Minnesota. And those are expected to continue northeastward or north to northeastward direction, and lead to quite a bit of rainfall across Minneapolis, around 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a very long time. Really, we are expected to see quite a bit of rain showers across this region, with some thunderstorms mixed in for a very large portion of the late afternoon overnight into the early morning hours as well into Wisconsin. So that may have not really been the easiest to follow. I'm sorry about that. I'm not really good with time zones. However, if you did manage to catch some of that, those are the times you want to be watching out for if you live in the affected areas. But then let's take a look at the Pacific Northwest, where we are expected to see quite a bit of winter weather. You can see our snowstorms are expected to kind of begin developing widespread around 6 p.m., around 8 p.m., which is going to be, I think that's going to be 6 p.m. Mountain Time, if I am in the correct time zone. We are expected to see those snowstorms really begin ramping up, and then we are expected to see very widespread snowstorms anywhere from 10 p.m., which is I think going to be 7 p.m., up to 9 a.m., so into the early morning hours. of Montana. You can see tons of snow from Montana into Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, and northern North Dakota. You are also expected to see possibly some sleet mixed in with that as well, and some freezing rain up into eastern parts of Minnesota into North Dakota, as well as, again, that freezing rain I was mentioning in southern Minnesota. Those are some things you can watch out for if you live in the affected areas. Not only are you gonna get snow, but you could possibly also see some sleet, maybe some freezing rain if you live in those regions in particular. Taking a look at our dew points, focusing on the marginal threat for the southwestern United States first, we are expected to see anywhere from weak moisture up to quite a bit of moisture. We are expected to see moisture that's going to be decreased in the further west you go, with the majority of our moisture being situated across Texas, with dew points that are going to be getting as high as the 70s, and then across the rest of the marginal threat, we are expected to see dew points that are going to be ranging anywhere from the mid 50s into the 40s. Even though our dew points widespread in the majority of the marginal threat aren't really the best, we are expected to see at least ample instability to support a marginal and threat for severe thunderstorms for today, and enough instability to support the threat for damaging winds, small to medium hail, as well as that tornado threat in this region as well. But let's take a look at our dew points for the northern Midwest, sorry, and then our dew points are expected to be getting into those mid 60s. Which should definitely give us quite a bit of instability and fuel to really support a small to medium hail threat, as well as the threat for damaging winds as well. Taking a look at our temperatures, starting off the marginal threat for the southwestern United States first, you can see we are expected to see quite a bit of heat across this region. We are expected to see temperatures that are going to be ranging anywhere from the 80s into the 70s, and further west we could see temperatures that could get as low as the 60s. But let's take a look at the marginal threat for the northern Midwest. You can see that stationary front pretty prominently here on our temperature models. And our temperatures are expected to be ranging anywhere from the mid to low 70s into the low and mid 50s. So our temperatures are going to be ranging quite a bit, but we should see quite a bit of heat, and enough heat to support at least moderately unstable Cape. Taking a look at our instability, focusing on the marginal threat for the southwestern United States first, you can see we are expected to see quite a bit of instability across this region, definitely compared to yesterday, where yesterday we barely had enough ample instability to support a tornado threat in this region. But now in that marginal threat area, we are expected to see Cape values are going to be getting into the 2000s. The majority of our instability is going to be where the majority of our moisture is, which is going to be in Texas, as I was mentioning earlier on our dew points. We are expected to see Cape values in Texas are going to be getting as high as the 2000s, as well as widespread. We could see it ranging anywhere from the triple digits into the 1000s, possibly up to the upper 1000s range. But then further west, where we have a little bit weaker moisture, we are expected to see weaker Cape values with that as well. We are expected to see Cape values are going to be getting into the low 1000s and triple digits, with Cape values that could be getting as low as the very low triple digits. So overall, we are expected to see fairly varying instability across this region. However, for the vast majority of the marginal threat, we should see quite a bit of instability, and enough instability that's going to be able to fuel and support the threat for small to medium hail and the threat for damaging winds. And then as for the threat for our tornadoes, we could also see the threat for tornadoes with this instability as well, and I will be showing you our energy helicity index models after this. But then let's take a look at the marginal threat for the northern Midwest, where we are expected to see quite a bit of instability here as well, and it's going to be fairly similar down across Texas as well. We are expected to see instability that is going to be getting as high as the 2000s, fairly similar to Texas as I was mentioning, and this should definitely be able to fuel and support the threat for damaging winds and small to medium hail across this region as well. Taking a look at our energy helicity index, focusing on the 2% tornado threat for the southwest. You can see overall we are expected to see quite a bit of instability in enough directional shear to allow for energy helicity index readings outside of the 2% tornado threat. However, inside of the 2% tornado threat, look at how much better our energy helicity index readings are compared to overall widespread across Texas into Oklahoma. Compared to inside that 2% tornado threat area, we definitely have much better energy helicity index readings that we're getting up to 3.0 earlier. I think yeah, 3.0. So we are definitely expected to see quite a bit of energy helicity index readings for that 2% tornado threat. And we should definitely see enough instability and directional shear to support the threat of 1 or 2 brief tornadoes across this region. Taking a look at our total snowfall accumulation, I'm not really going to spend too long on this. However, for Montana, we are expected to see widespread. We could see anywhere from 5 inches to 6 inches to up to 10 inches and 8 and 7 inches across Montana widespread. So again, as I was mentioning, we are expected to see quite a bit of snow across this region. So definitely make sure you are planning accordingly to the amount of snowfall you are expected to see in your affected area. Now that I've told you the weather, please go down to the description and check out the socials for Project Gladiator and join the Discord for any updates on Project Gladiator. If you live in any of the affected areas that I covered for today, please stay with the alert for the time being. And if you notice anything wrong with today's forecast, please correct me in the comments, and hopefully I will be able to see you guys tomorrow with another forecast.